What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today I'm going to talk to you about SoFi. Pretty interesting day. I want to break it down on what really caused all of this, as well as what the data points are saying, because the data points aren't really portraying the same picture as what did truly happen today. So I want to go over everything that you need to know, but first make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off, SoFi did go down 2.41%, 647 the low, which basically is where it landed, and then 667 the high. Looking at the volume, 26.07 million shares being traded, 41.9 is the average. So relatively low volume today, and based on this, you do see a good level of transactions occurring on the secondary market, especially near the tail end of the day. But ultimately, this is why I'm alluding to how the data doesn't really portray what did happen. So for those of you that watch my channel, I always like to analyze where the volume does come from. And you can always tell based on this simple barcoding right here, this is algos. So algorithmic trading, just trading pretty much among themselves. This is why you do get somewhat misleading data sometimes and looking at the volume, but a lot of the volume was just that, piggybacking off of the broader fears in the market. So one of which is war. So the whole situation in the Middle East, that's point number one. And point number two, you have randomly, came out of nowhere, I feel, Ukraine somehow fighting back against Russia. So now we're just kind of waiting. That's stuck in limbo. You also do have CPI. So it's Monday morning. I do my pre-market video. There's already articles coming out about CPI. So clearly goes to show the market's mentality is just very focused on CPI. And again, that is going to be extended to rate cuts. So the market just wants rate cuts one way or another. And so far, no real change since my last update. So right now, a 47.5% likelihood of a 50 basis point cut for that September 18th meeting. And then a 52.5% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut. And so again, the market just wants rate cuts, plain as day. But there is a overwhelming amount of fear in the broader market. So algorithmic trading is basically being told to sell stuff off. So even though going back over here, you do see some buying first thing, some neutral transactions right here, but you do see, like I said, a lot of buying coming from institutions today. So it doesn't really, this doesn't portray the picture of what truly did happen. And plus on social media, you see a lot of people just saying, hey, it's shorts. Like, I feel like that's the go-to thing. Shorts technically didn't really increase either today. So they did return about 540,000 shares. That's net. Pretty much throughout the whole day they've been returning. But 17.19% of the free floats being shorted works out to be 179.92 million shares. This is why I like to analyze this information, because by shorts returning some shares today kind of doesn't really validate the downtrend. So more of an overreaction today. So that's one way to interpret that. And plus, like I pointed out in the past, looking at the available shares, it's very cheap to borrow shares associated to SoFi, right? So IBKR is 0.34%. Very low stuff. That's an annual rate as well. And with there being more than 10 million shares available, if shorts really did feel that the fear in the broader market was valid, they would be doubling the hell down. The whole EV sector got slaughtered today. So shorts were really increasing, but with SoFi, clearly they see that as an overreaction. That's just my opinion. And again, this doesn't really portray or kind of meet the criteria of what did truly happen. So all in all, the algos are the ones dictating and kind of pulling the market down. That's just my own interpretation, of course. You guys believe and do whatever the hell you guys want. But essentially no news from SoFi, no SEC filing. So it was just merely at the broader market's mercy today. Looking at options though, because we already do know that's going to influence SoFi this week, 2.54 million in calls, 1.27 million in puts. Sentiment wise, 46% of all the options being done today were bearish, so clearly anticipating more downside. And of the call options that are being purchased, you do see a consensus for it to be roughly around that $7 mark, but you can tell since it is the closest strike price, that is just shorts hedging. So again, they might have rolled over from last week, so this is why they do weekly options, because it's a little bit more advantageous to them in reality. But this is the current open interest, so just so you guys are aware. So 7,000 at that $6 strike price, 8,000 at that 650, 40,000 at that 7. Then you guys can kind of see the rest. So essentially there is that wall at 7. So if somehow for whatever reason SoFi does kind of move higher with positive CPI that's coming out on Wednesday, you will see a little bit more of a give and take at that $7 mark. But essentially SoFi with this 6 and 650 mark, there's no real kind of suppression, no manipulation that is going to be occurring at that stage. So that's just my own opinion, of course. And right now with it closing at $6.48, it landed exactly on this pivot point right here. So going into the next several trading days, just watch for it to kind of flirt with that and hopefully for this strong support to hold. You did see that support getting pounded near the, or I guess after hours right here. So again, just watch for $6.48. And then aside from that, 678 is going to be that next strong resistance that you'll want to watch for SoFi to hopefully push towards. And again, just to give you guys a little bit more of a broader view, $6.19 and then $6 are going to be the following support levels. On the actual chart itself, number of retail investors who are getting out, stochastic is still arguably considered oversold. And on the actual chart itself, lower percentile of the Bollinger Band and just below a lot of the key pivotal moving averages. So all in all, SoFi's technicals are still continuing to break down. The short data, in my opinion, is relatively optimistic and it's not bearish whatsoever. What happened today, and then looking at the options activity, in my opinion, somewhat neutral. You do see some level of optimism, but it is diminishing. So I think it's just feeding off of the broader market's kind of negativity. So are you a buyer right now? Are you a seller? Or are you buying maybe at the $5 range? What's your viewpoint? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with all that said, appreciate all of you watching.